You come straight into the class with cat-cow. I've got my bricks too towards the front of the mat. My block is up that end as well. I'm going to take my cat-cow kind of sideways rather than forward and back. So, a little bit more slinky through the hips and the shoulders. You can take that in the more traditional version if you wish, just see what works best for your spine. Let's take a few regular versions as well. So literally just taking this for a minute. The fingers are nicely spread out. Press into the hand and utilize the value of stretching your spine and your shoulders towards the sky. And change that immediately back into child's pose. So you'll take the knees a little further back, sit down onto the heels, and have the hands as wide as the mat. Let the head come to the ground. If you have any issues with your knees or getting your head to rest against the floor, use the props, bring them underneath you. And taking a nice few deep breaths into the belly. And becoming very aware of the ribs stretching out to the side. Lift. Come back up into all fours, bring the knees underneath, and we'll move into a down dog. Allow ourselves to walk that out a little bit. You have to move around in your down dog if you need to. We're going to come into some lifts for the toes. So I'm just going to draw myself up onto the tippy toes, but still pressing the hips back. And then letting the heels roll down again towards the back of the mat. Lift up onto the toes as high as you can. Now to stay kind of on the balls of the feet, I'm not coming up onto the end of the toes. And again, as high as I can. Now obviously, you can see that my heels are not touching the floor either. If you're looking at the video. So the amount of lift I got is really only a few inches. I'll come back down to the floor. Take a moment to tuck the shirt in. Should have done that at the beginning. And then come down onto all fours. Onto the belly. Laying the hips down gently, untucking the toes. We come into low cobra, so bringing the hands towards the bottom of the ribs and the elbows pressing in a little. Heels roll out slightly. Inhale and exhale, just lifting to the end of the rib cage. So that's when you start to feel that lifting away from the floor. You've come far enough. If that's possible for you to lift further than that, you don't need to. But if you're working within that range in your body, that's fine. Bring the hands down alongside the body, palms facing out for a lotus pose. Inhale the chest, thighs, hands away from the ground. Exhale back. Try and keep the head in line with the rest of the body. You will notice me looking forwards from time to time, but that's purely so I can see the clock, which is not something you need to be doing. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. And come up for a last time. Now bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs. Press away. Draw the knees forwards and underneath. As I scoot the toes out to the side, pivoting on the knees, I'm going to take one of the bricks rather, and allow myself to then roll down to the ground. I'll lengthen the arms out a little bit, press towards the back of the mat with the hands, and then allow the hands to come back down alongside the body. So I can draw my right knee in towards my chest, take my hands around my shin, let the knees sink down towards the armpit. Use the toes to just guide my left foot and eventually my heel out towards the end of the mat. Try and draw the tummy muscles in and rotate the inner thigh of the left leg towards the center line. The foot is flexed on the extended leg and the toes are spread. Imagine you're pressing your foot and your heel into a wall. And we'll release the feet back in towards the body. Take one breath there, and then on the exhale, you can bring the left leg in, begin to walk at your leisure, your right foot out using your toes, and then sliding your heel for that last little piece. Again, rotating the thigh inwards. Now the weight of your arms and your legs to increase the weight of the leg being drawn down towards the floor to the side of your armpit. And then I'm going to release the feet back towards the bottom. I'm going to take the brick, not on its narrow setting, but the next size up. Place that between my thighs, and then try and bring my heels directly underneath where I think my knees are, including having the shins vertical. And I can turn the heels out slightly so it feels like it's easier to press into the thighs. Bring the hands alongside the body coming into bridge pose. So I'm going to wriggle the shoulders underneath before I start. And on the exhale, draw my belly down towards my spine. As that flattens into the floor, I'll tuck the tailbone away and lift the hips up towards the sky. So take a little breath from there and flip the arms up towards the sky on the breath in. And slowly let the arms roll towards the back of the mat behind me. I'm going to continue to press the hips up towards the sky, but also press the knees away and try and draw the chest towards my chin at the same time. You can emphasize the squeezing of the thighs onto those bricks. And we'll begin to roll the spine back down to the floor gently, leaving the arms where they were for a moment. The spine is flattened all the way to the ground, and then inhale the hands up and just let them exhale down alongside your body. Bring those arms right alongside your body again, palms down. And take a little breath. Start to press my lower back into the floor. My belly draws in. Let the tailbone lift. Slowly tuck the hips up towards the sky. I'm going to see if I can bring my hands underneath the back of my waist. So wiggle around a little bit to achieve that to start with. Again, try and press the thighs onto the brick. Press the feet down into the floor. Press the knees away a little bit. Draw your chest towards your chin. It's quite strong on the wrists, to say the least. And release the hands out. Bring them back to the floor. And gradually let the hips come back down to the ground over a breath or two. Once they arrive, we'll take that brick out and just put that to the side. Keep drawing the tummy muscles down. Slowly interlace your hands around the back of your head. Up onto the tippy toes and let your knees come directly above the hips. Shins parallel to the ground, squeezing the thighs together and the toes pointing away from you. You'll take a little breath, keeping the left elbow on the ground. I'm going to slowly draw my chest towards my knees and extend out my right leg. And let my right elbow slowly come towards my knee. Cross over to the opposite side. Now letting the leg slide against the big toe of the opposite foot gives me a nice angle to work towards. I'm trying my best to pull from the chest and rotate rather than from the back of the neck or the head. And I keep one elbow attached to the ground at all times. Do my best to minimize the amount of turning in with that elbow. Last time coming down, and then bring the feet to the floor. I'm going to take hold of the brick again. I'm going to take it between the thighs and the finger setting this time, and allow the arms to come out in line with the chest, palms up. Just wiggle the shoulders underneath as they come up onto the tiptoes, drawing the belly in. And allow the knees to come directly over the hips. I'm going to let the heels drop in towards the bottom this time. And just keeping the big toes touching gently. We're going to slowly roll the legs over towards the right side, keeping the shoulders flat to the floor. And I'm going to try and have the knees and the feet hover as low to the ground as possible. And if possible, having the knees and the toes aligned parallel to each other in the ground. So I'm not trying to let the feet touch the ground. I'm trying to keep them the same distance away. So it feels like the kind of the relationship between my knees and my toes stays constant all the way through. And slow moves. Knees have, in my case, traveled a little closer towards me. Just moving very slowly, using the whole of your breath to exhale your way down. And using the whole of the breath and back up again. Last right and left. Back to the center for the last time. And take the brick out again, put that to the left side, and then roll over onto your right. Bring your hands with you, press them into the floor, swoop ourselves up. I'll grab the brick and bring that back towards the front end of the mat. Swivel the feet out towards the back of the mat. So I'm onto my knees again. We'll take a little breath from here, tuck the toes underneath, into down dog. Allow ourselves to step the feet in towards the front of the mat. Nice big juicy steps. And hold for a couple of breaths into the standing forward bend. Just let those legs open out a little bit more. I've got a very significant bend in my knees. My legs are tight. You could bring your hands on top of the blocks if they're about shoulder distance apart within reach. Allow yourself to come into more of a half forward fold with the body drawn forward, shoulders back, tailbone lifting, the legs pressing down through the feet. See how that feels in your hamstrings. One may feel better than the other. And take a last breath in whichever position you're in. Allow the knees to soften and bring the hands onto the hips. Ease our way up to standing. Hopefully very close to the front of the mat. We'll take the arms up towards the sky on the inhale. Bring the hands through the heart as we exhale down to the floor. Soften the knees and take the weight into the toes. Fingertips to the floor. Up onto the fingertips for that half forward bend. Allow yourself to fold back. Stepping the right foot back into lunge. Press out through the heel. Feel the groins opening a little bit. Try and get the hips to feel like they're the same distance to the end of the mat. So generally, you can see, or sometimes you can see in people's bodies when they take the right foot back, the left hip kind of moves around towards the front of the mat. So if you've kind of moved off center, just bring the hips back to square. Take a little breath and then drop your heel down to the ground. Hands alongside the body to lift the chest a little. We'll take the right hand forwards and use the exhale to lift slowly up into a warrior two. Now bring hands in towards the heart, down to the floor. Step back into our down dog. Come forwards into the plank on the breath in. Push forwards on the toes on the exhale, bending the elbows into the ribs. Inhale to up dog, strong legs, bootlaces down. Roll over the toes or step the feet back to down dog. Draw the right knee to your chest. Bring your foot through into the lunge. Square the hips again, pressing out through the back heel. Take a breath, push off the toes into a forward standing bend. Hands onto the hips. Use your exhale to lift up. Hands high again, breath in. Ribs are down. Belly's drawn in. In the exhale, folding at the hips. And softening in the knees as you need to. Fingertips for that half lift. Lengthen the spine. Relax the shoulders back will help. Fold it in again. Take a breath. Send your left leg back into the lunge. Square the hips again, as we discussed. All right, drop the back heel down. Come into our warrior two for the second side. So we'll lift the chest a little. Left arm comes forwards, and we bring it up with the body. Always try to put at least half of your weight into the back leg. Bring the hands in towards your heart. And exhale down. Allow yourself to move back into your down dog. Take the breath in. Use the exhale to come forward slowly into your plank. Half plank. Up dog. Way back into your down dog. We'll draw the left knee in, take the lunge. Square the hips. And push off the toes into that forward bend. The subsequent variations that we'll run through in the sun salutations will be a little quicker. We'll take the hands half, breath in, exhale down to the floor. Fingertips to the left, fold it down, take a breath, right foot back, keep the heel high this time, coming into high crescent, bring both hands alongside the body, float them out in line with your body, and then lift by pressing your tailbone down to the floor. We'll take a little breath and bring the hands back down to the ground, drop the back heel in, and lift again into warrior two, two hands alongside the body, we lift up slowly. Hands in towards the heart as we breathe in. Down to the floor we go. Stepping back into our down dog. We'll come forwards into the plank. Half plank. Strong legs. Up dog. Breath in. Hips high. Down dog. Right knee to the body. And lunge on the exhale. Take a breath. Push off the toes. Forward bend. Hands onto the hips. And lift. Get the hands high again. Ribs in. Hinge at the hips. Weight to the toes. Fingers to the floor. We'll lift up on those fingertips halfway. And then fold down. Take a breath. Left leg back. Hands alongside. Lift a little. Float the arms out. Keep your front knee over your ankle. Press your tailbone down. Take the breath to the sky. Bring the hands to the floor. Step the back heel in. Hands alongside the body again. Float to warrior two. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Step back to your down dog. Take the breath in. Use the exhale to come forwards. Plank. Half plank. To up dog. To down dog. Draw the left knee. Use the exhale for lunge. Breath to stabilize. Push off the toes. Exhale. Hands on the hips and we lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale to the floor. Fingertips for the lip. Fold it in. Take a breath. Right foot back. Drop the knee down to the floor and untuck the toes. Sweep the hands alongside your body. And inhale up. Bring your hands in towards your heart. Elbows wide. Use your exhale to rotate towards your left. And bring your elbow to the outside. Tuck the toe on the back foot. Lift the back knee. Press the hands together and lift the chest. Take a breath. Bring the hands to the floor. Drop the back heel in, center line. Allow yourself to lift into your warrior two. Hands into the heart, breath in. Down to the floor on the exhale. Step back into your down dog. Take the breath in. Forwards into plank. Half plank. To up dog. To down dog. Right knee in. Through on the exhale. Push off the toes and the next breath. Forward bend. Hands under the hips and we lift up, last side. Hands high through the heart, down to the floor. Fingertips to the lip. Fold it in. Step the left leg back, drop the knee. Untuck the toes with the hands alongside the body. Lift the entire torso up. Hands in towards the heart, breath. Use the exhale to rotate and finish by covering into the twist. Take a little breath. Press out through the back leg. Lift the chest. Press into the hands as you breathe in. Bring the hands to the floor. Exhale. Drop the back heel in, breath. Hands alongside the body. Warrior two for the lift. Hands to the heart. Down to the floor. Stepping back into your dog. Come forwards into the plank as you exhale. Up dog, breath in. Down dog. Inhale the knee, left side through. Exhale, take a breath. Push the toes into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, and we lift up. So hopefully we've warmed up a little bit. We'll bring the hands high and towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. We'll slow down again. I'm going to take the right foot to the back of the mat, drop the heel in, and I'm going to bring the brick onto, one of the bricks, onto the inside of the front foot. Hands alongside the body and lift into my warrior two. Now I'm going to allow myself to wiggle the back foot out a little more and then straighten the front leg. Triangle legs. Send the hips back a little bit. Allow yourself to lengthen out slowly. Give the hip a little bit of chance on that front leg. And then bring your hand down onto the block underneath your shoulders. Turn your chest to the long side of the mat. And the top hand, 12 o'clock. Press down through both feet, one hand. And try and lengthen your body out of your pelvis. I'll soften the front knee. Come back up into warrior two. Bring the hands to the heart. Down to the floor we go. Spinning the back heel. I'm going to step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips again. Allow myself to lift. Take the hands high. In towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take the breath. Take the left leg back. And drop the heel in. Just move the brick a little closer if you need to. Bring the hands alongside your body. Lift the chest. And slow lift into your warrior two. Wiggle the back foot a little further away. Straighten the front leg. Send the hips towards the back. Allow yourself to lengthen down the center line of your mat. Bring your hand down onto the brick. Top arm towards the sky. So without your peripheral vision, you can just check you're at 12 o'clock. Try and soften the top shoulder a little bit by rotating the body around more. Send the hips back lightly as you press the feet down. Let your chest draw towards the front of the mat. We'll soften the front knee. Come back into our warrior two. Hands in towards the heart. Down to the floor. Spin the back. Take a breath. And we'll step to the forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. Take hands high. In towards the heart. And exhale down to the floor. We'll take a breath and send the right foot back. Move the block in again, just a little bit. Allow the heel to drop in and lift into our warrior two. So we're going to take a reverse warrior. So we'll turn the palm on the front hand, wrap the rear hand around the body, top arm up towards the sky, and then exhale over towards the back of the mat. Take a breath there. Come back into warrior two. Extend over the front thigh. Bring the hand down onto the brick. This time we got the bent knee, so it's extended side angle pose. And they're going to wrap the top arm around the body and see if I can bring my fingers to about midway down the front thigh, turning the chest. Good, take a little breath and see if I can remove the hand from the brick. Reach under, allow myself to come into the reverse spine, and then just bring the hips back over the center line a little bit. And we'll release to warrior two. Bring the hands towards the heart, down towards the floor. Spin the back heel and step it into that forward bend. Smooth the brick over, hands onto the hips, let myself lift. Inhale high again, hands into the heart. Soften the knees as we come down, weight into the toes, just that fraction. And stepping left foot back and dropping the heel in. Warrior two for the lift. Turn the palm on the front hand. Got the reverse warrior. So we'll bring the arms into position first. And extend over second towards the back of the mat. Focus a little more on the back leg, pressing down. We'll come back into warrior two. Extend out over the front thigh. Front hand comes down, top arm lifts. Once you feel steady, wrap the top arm around again towards that halfway mark on the thigh. Giving the chest a little bit more time to open up. And then we'll see if we can release the hand from the brick. Bring that underneath. Interlace the fingers to some degree. And then open the chest a little bit more. Let's bring the hips over the center line. Still pressing into the back leg. And then we'll release into our warrior two. Strong on that front leg. Hands into the heart. And down to the floor. We'll take a little breath. Allow ourselves to step back into down dog. Now bring the knees down to the ground, just so that I can move those two bricks to about shoulder distance apart at the front of the mat. And take a little breath from there. Allow myself to transition from down dog into a forward bend at the front of the mat. And hands onto the hips. Allow myself to lift. Take the hands high again into a heart. Hinge at the hips and down to the floor. Take a little breath and send the right foot back into my warrior two. Hands alongside the body. I'm going to lift slowly, using all of my breath. Turn the palm on the front hand. Arms ready for reverse warrior. And then exhale out. Take one breath. Come back in to warrior two. Take the hands high this time. We're going to rotate hips and shoulders and spin on the back foot into a high crescent. Now take a little breath. Ease the hands down to the floor, push off the back foot, lift it up, and move into warrior three. Now you can keep the palms on the floor, or you can come onto the fingertips. You want to make sure that your front leg and foot are pointing down the center line of the mat. The back leg, you want to press out. Try and have it lifted as high as your hip. And imagine you're pressing into a fixed wall. Spread the toes a little bit. Last breath in. Now soften the front knee and bring the feet back to the front of the mat. Fold into the forward bend. Then bring the hands onto the hips. Allow ourselves to lift back up. We'll take it to the second side. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Send the left foot back and drop the heel in. Warrior two, lift. Bring the arms ready for warrior two to reverse warrior. We'll slowly extend it out to the back of the mat. Take a nice long breath in. And use the exhale to come back into warrior two. Hands come high again. We rotate. Find our balance point. Lean forwards. Hands to the floor. Push off the back toe as you land. Onto the fingertips with the lift to get a little higher. Square the hips to the ground. And press out through the legs. Drawing the body forwards. As you move into the point where you've got as little weight through the hands as possible, and the body is doing the lifting. Take one more breath. Soften the front knee, just a fraction to bring the foot down to the ground, and then fold into that forward bend. We'll take a breath and bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift back up. We'll step into about the midpoint of the mat. And just take a moment to breathe. Feet about hip distance apart. We'll slowly bring the toes together. Give it a little gap for the ankle bones. Soften the knees over the toes. Bring the hands in towards my heart. Keep the spine long. Sit back into the heels as low as you dare. Take a breath and extend the hands out above the shoulders. With that extra little bit of weight, maybe you can come down a fraction lower. Squeezing the thighs gently together. Bring the hands towards the heart. Allow ourselves to lift a little. Shift the weight to the right leg. Lift the left heel in towards your buttocks. Extend the leg back as you allow your body to lengthen forwards. So we come into the freestanding version of warrior three. Take one more breath. And then softly bring ourselves back, hopefully to the chair pose. Allow ourselves to reset and regroup a little bit. Take the hands out again. Get down that little lower. Just the idea of drawing the tummy muscles in. Hands in towards the heart, lift a little. Shift the weight to the left. Right heel comes in. As the leg extends out, Let the body come more parallel to the ground. Now we'll soften the knee again. See if we can come back towards the chair pose. Sitting down for the last time. Extending hands out, a little lower. Take a breath. Let the legs open up. Fold into your forward bend. Now walk the fingers in towards the front of the mat. Step your feet towards the back of the mat for down dog, toes together. Take a little breath. Draw your left knee towards your chest and bring your left knee to the outside of your left elbow. Swing your heel underneath for pigeon pose. Allow yourself to walk your right foot back. We'll press the tailbone down. We'll press the hips and the thighs into the ground. So we'll increase the sense of feeling of base onto the fingertips. Try and relax the shoulders away from your ears. Have that feeling of pressing down, not just simply sitting into your body, but actually pushing a little away from the floor. And then bring the hands flat to the ground again. Tap the toe on the back foot, roll the shoulders back, lift the hips, then draw the belly in. Step back into your down dog. We'll take a breath here, draw the right knee in, tap to the outside of the elbow, slide the heel across underneath the center line of the mat, knee and shin to the floor. Walk the left foot back as far as you can. Begin to sit down and press into the floor. Lift up onto the fingertips. Press the ground away as evenly as you can through both legs. Feeling the glutes, the buttocks kind of lifting as well. Relaxing the shoulders a little bit. And then bring the hands to the floor again. Put the toe on the back foot, roll the shoulders back, lift the hips. Into our down dog. We'll come forwards into plank and bring the knees directly underneath. We're going to move the left hand just in line with the left knee and spin the left foot off to the side. Taking the right foot back, I drop the sole of the foot to the floor so I can come into a side bend. I'll turn a little bit more on the knee so my foot is even more out towards the side edge of the mat. Can take a little breath and lift up onto the fingertips. Again, I'm going to try and press down into that back leg and take as much weight out of the front of the body as I can. So this part feels like it's doing a lot of lifting, those oblique muscles and your back muscles and your abdominal muscles. The benefit is we take the weight out of the shoulder and the fingertips and the wrists. That's a good thing. We just move the emphasis to a different part of the body. Strong on the groins as well. We'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Allows us to come back onto that tabletop position. And then we'll do exactly the same again. So the right hand comes in, the foot pivots out a little bit. Left goes out, drop the heel in, and then spin the left foot even further out to the side. So it's very easy to get your hips square to the front end of the long end of the mat. Once you're steady, place just the left onto your fingertips. Try to put the weight into the back foot. Last breath. Bring the hands to the floor. Whew. Back down to the ground onto tabletop. Once you arrive in tabletop, allow your elbows to come to the ground and have them about shoulder distance apart. You're going to interlace the hands very lightly, little finger tucked under, and then slowly send back the feet about shoulder distance apart into elbow plank. Once you've arrived, press into the forearms so that you stretch out the back of your shoulders. They're a little rounded. Allow yourself to press out through the heels. Draw the tummy muscles in a little more. Last breath in. Knees to the floor. Allow the hips to come to the floor. Just release the hands. Bring yourself into Sphinx pose. Draw the chest forwards, belly in. Roll the thighs outwards a little bit so the heels roll out. And the legs away. And we'll come down to the ground then to make sure that your chin at least is going to be on the end of your mat. And allow yourself to wriggle around if that's not the case. So elbows are out wide, and I'm going to let the chin rest on the back of the hands. The feet are about shoulder distance apart. I'm going to wriggle through the shoulders first and the hips, and then I'm going to bend my left knee, bring my heel towards my butt, take my left hand back, walk my fingers down the foot, so the palm of my hand is resting against the bootlace side of my foot. My shoulder is drawn back, my chest is square to the ground, elbow is high, pressing the heel very lightly towards the sitting bone, and then lengthen the leg away. So you press your knee to the bottom end of the mat and press your hip down to the floor as well. You feel the front top of your thigh if it's tight. Most of us it will be. Stretching out nicely. The rest of the muscles are warmed up, so it should feel like an easy stretch to play around with. Take a last breath there. Bring the foot gently back down to the floor. Wriggle out through the shoulders and the hips again. And then allow yourself to bend the opposite. So the right leg comes in. Hand comes back. Find the foot. Walk your fingers to your toes. Then place the palm of your hand to the bootlace side of your foot. Draw the shoulder back. Elbow to the sky. Chest square to the floor. When you feel comfortable, allow yourself to start to lengthen your knee away and press your hips to the ground. And then we can release from there as well. Again, give the hips a little shoulder wriggle. And then I'm going to come into bow pose. Now, if you don't want to do bow pose, that's fine. You can just come into frog pose. You can actually do frog pose with double legs. So same as we did before, but both legs simultaneously. Otherwise, you're going to bend your knees. If you're going to take my cue into bow, allow the heels to come in. Try and keep the knees about the same distance apart as your hips, so maybe just realign them if they need to be. You can take one hand back and find the ankle joint, and then do the same with the opposite side. If you can, keep your chin on the ground as you do that. You're going to get a little bit of movement through the spine from side to side. And then once you've got your fingers nicely in place, you can start to flex your feet. With the chin on the floor, press the hips down towards the ground and press the knees away. Keeping the thighs connected to the ground, try to press your shins towards the back end of the mat. Now your body will lift, your shoulders draw back, that's for sure. Take a breath from there, and then on the exhale, see if you can press the soles of your feet towards the sky at the same time. So lift the thighs off the ground. Keep trying to draw the chest forwards to keep space in the spine. We'll hold it for 5 breaths. And down we go. Bring the hands down underneath the chin again. Let the feet come to the floor and wriggle out through the hips and the shoulders. We're going to come back up to sitting. So to do that, I'm just going to roll on to whichever side you prefer. Allow yourself to draw your knees towards you and then press away from the ground. So you do have a tendency for a little bit of a weak or sore back. That is a much generous way to lift up to a seated position rather than taking a kind of a press up approach after bow pose. Go back. Well, thank you for sitting on the block. Allow yourself to sit up nice and tall. We'll just come into a seated twist. Taking the left foot under so the knee points forwards. Allow the right leg to come across. Get both sitting bones on the ground. Now draw your belly button towards the front of the mat. So you tilt your pelvis forwards. Left arm up, rotates over. There's a little bit of friction between the arm and the leg, counterlevering each other. Now we'll release. And take the legs out to the opposite side. And then we can release from there as well. Take the legs wide at this point, and then allow yourself to bring your left heel in towards your groin. Turn the body slowly towards the left thigh. Take the right hand out. You're just going to wrap your left arm around the back of your body. Allow yourself to lean out towards that foot. Now try and open the chest as much as you can. Press out through the heel, set the hip back in. Toes point towards the sky. Chest opens up. Just a few breaths here. Just getting that last little stretch into the lower back. Release. And take the legs to the opposite side. And wrap your arm around again. When you feel ready, allow yourself to lean out. And we'll release from there as well. We'll come down to the floor for Shavasana. You could use the bricks underneath the back of the thighs and take Supta Baddha Konasana if you wanted to, or you can work with a more sort of traditional version of Shavasana, just taking the feet out to the corner edges of the mat, and try to move the props around so that they're not actually going to be touching your body in any way, and wriggle through. You don't need to use the block under the back of the head. It just makes it a whole lot easier to look up towards the clock in a few minutes' time without straining. So I'm going to wriggle the shoulders underneath, loosen the jaw, legs open out to the side, wiggle the hips for the last time, fingertips and toes, wriggle of the jaw, and then we start to let our body sink and settle. Doing our best to avoid the natural inclinations of the mind to tell us to scratch and fidget and wriggle. We just want to be still, perfectly still like a statue. We'll begin to wriggle our fingers and toes. And then loosen the ankles to slowly move. Breathing a little deeper and longer, reconnecting the breath with the nervous system. We can allow ourselves to stretch out gently in any way that feels instinctive. We'll slide the legs one leg at a time in towards the body, just drawing the heels along the floor. And then let the knees travel towards you gently, one leg at a time again, taking hands lightly around the shins. Allow yourself to rock or circle, whatever it is, very gently. So no gritting your teeth and holding your breath. It should all be very easy, fluid movements, if at all. And then when you're ready, we can roll over to the right side gently. Let the body follow. Use the hands to press into the floor to lift back up. We come to sitting into an easy posture with a long spine. And bring the hands towards the heart. And take a breath in as we close the eyes. Slowly beginning to exhale, let the chin drop. And finding the belly drawn to your spine, let the simple bow form, feeling your practice. When we inhale, let the spine build. Let the head follow, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed. A little bit of fast, a little bit of slow. See you on the mat again soon.